ever wonder how some companies, just seem to nail it.
Their products always work. The service is consistently top-notch.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading this article about Toyota,
Okay.
and their, obsession with efficiency back in the 80s.
Yeah.
It basically revolutionized car manufacturing.
You're talking about the rise of total productive maintenance.
Or TPM.
Yeah,
And Six Sigma, right?
exactly. Toyota was way ahead of the curve in adopting these methodologies.
And it's fascinating to see how they've kind of spread across industries.
Yeah. What's fascinating is that they address kind of different aspects of efficiency, right?
Okay.
TPM is like building a culture of sort of preventative care.
Around your equipment.
Okay.
Involving everyone.
Gotcha.
Not just the maintenance crew.
Mm-hmm.
In keeping things running smoothly.
So it's more than just fixing things when they break.
It's about preventing those breakdowns in the first place.
Exactly. Think of it as teamwork.
But not just between people, right? It's about everyone working together to keep those metaphorical factory machines humming at peak performance.
I like that.
And that's where Six Sigma comes in.
Okay. Six Sigma, our data-driven detective.
Working alongside that TPM team.
Yeah.
Our source material mentions this goal of 3.4 defects per million opportunities.
Is that even possible?
3.4 defects per million, that's the gold standard.
Wow.
It sounds almost impossible.
But companies like Motorola, General Electric, they've used Six Sigma to achieve those kinds of results.
We're talking about a level of precision that was, unheard of before.
Okay, so how does Six Sigma actually work?
What are the steps involved in this, detective work?
Well, it all boils down to a 5-step process called DMAC. Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control.
It's a structured approach to problem solving that starts with clearly defining what you're trying to improve.
Define. So figuring out exactly what the problem is.
Like customers are experiencing long wait times, or our defect rate on this production line is too high.
Exactly.
Then you move on to measure, where you collect data to understand the scope of the issue.
Once you have the data, you analyze it to identify the root causes of the problem.
And this is where those, fancy statistical tools come into play.
I bet those can be a bit intimidating for some folks.
They can be, but they don't have to be.
Six Sigma offers a range of tools, but the key is choosing the right one for the job. For example, let's say you're trying to understand how different factors might be contributing to those long customer wait times you mentioned.
Okay, I'm following.
You could use a tool like a fishbone diagram,
Also known as an Ishikawa diagram.
which helps visually map out all the potential causes and their effects.
So you're essentially brainstorming all the things that could be causing the delay.
Staffing levels, training procedures, even the layout of the waiting area itself.
Precisely. The fishbone diagram helps you visualize those potential causes and prioritize which ones to investigate further.
That's a great way to bring some structure to the problem-solving process.
So once you've analyzed the data and identified the root causes, what's next?
I'm guessing this is where the improve step comes in.
Exactly. This is where you develop and implement solutions to address the root causes you've identified.
And finally, you have control, which is all about putting systems in place to sustain those improvements over time.
So it's not a one-and-done deal. You're constantly monitoring, measuring,
And adjusting to ensure those improvements stick.
Exactly. And that's one of the key principles of both Six Sigma and TPM, the idea of continuous improvement. It's about creating a culture where everyone is constantly looking for ways to do things better, more efficiently, and with higher quality.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked about DMAIC, but our source material mentions a bunch of other tools and techniques within Six Sigma.
One that caught my eye was the Kano model.
Ah, yes. The
Yeah.
Kano model. It's a really useful tool for understanding customer satisfaction.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
The Kano model, it helps you categorize features or attributes of a product or service
Sure.
based on how they impact customer satisfaction.
So it's about figuring out what really matters to your customers.
So it's going to make them happy.
Exactly. The model breaks features down into 3 main categories. You got your must-be's,
Okay.
performance attributes, and delighters.
Okay.
Must-be's are the basic expectations.
Gotcha.
The things customers just take for granted.
Like if we're talking about a hotel, a clean room and a working shower are must-be's, right?
Exactly. If those aren't there, you're going to have some seriously unhappy customers.
Yeah.
Then you have performance attributes.
Okay.
Things like the speed of the Wi-Fi or the friendliness of the staff.
Those are things that can really set a company apart from the competition.
Absolutely. The better you perform on those attributes, the more satisfied your customers will be.
Makes sense.
And finally, you have the delighters. These are the unexpected extras, the things that customers don't necessarily expect, but that can really make their experience memorable.
Like that complimentary bottle of champagne you mentioned earlier.
Precisely. Delighters are a powerful way to exceed customer expectations and create a really positive impression.
That's such a helpful framework for just thinking about what makes a product or service truly great.
But let's shift gears for a moment
Okay.
and delve a bit deeper into the relationship between TPM and Six Sigma.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier that they kind of address different aspects of efficiency.
Right.
How do they actually work together in practice?
That's a great question.
Think of it this way. Six Sigma focuses on optimizing the process itself,
Okay.
while TPM ensures that the equipment used in that process is always in top shape.
Okay, so Six Sigma is about streamlining the recipe.
And TPM is about making sure the oven is calibrated correctly.
Exactly. Let's say you're a manufacturer using Six Sigma to reduce defects in your production line.
Okay.
You've analyzed the data, identified bottlenecks, and implemented improvements.
Right.
But what happens if a critical piece of equipment malfunctions?
Your carefully optimized process grinds to a halt.
Exactly. That's where TPM comes in. By implementing preventative maintenance, empowering operators to take ownership of their equipment, and fostering a culture of continuous improvement around machine reliability, you're minimizing the risk of those costly breakdowns.
So TPM acts as a sort of insurance policy for your Six Sigma efforts.
It ensures that your optimized processes can actually run smoothly and efficiently.
Precisely. And together they create a powerful synergy.
A one-two punch for achieving operational excellence.
I like it. It's like they say teamwork makes the dream work.
But speaking of teamwork, one of the things that intrigues me about TPM is its emphasis on involving everyone in the maintenance process.
How does that actually work in a real-world setting?
It's about empowering those closest to the equipment, the operators,
Okay.
who use it day in and day out.
Because they're the ones who are most likely to notice if something's off.
Exactly. They become the eyes and ears on the ground, so to speak.
Yeah.
TPM encourages them to take ownership,
Okay.
perform basic maintenance tasks, and flag potential issues early on.
So it's not just about fixing problems, it's about preventing them from happening in the first place.
Exactly. A great example of this is something called autonomous maintenance, which is a key pillar of PPM.
Okay. Autonomous maintenance. Tell me more.
It's about giving operators the skills and responsibility to perform routine maintenance tasks
Yeah.
on their own equipment.
Okay.
Things like cleaning, lubrication, inspections.
So instead of relying solely on a separate maintenance team,
You're empowering operators to take care of their own workstations.
precisely, this not only frees up the maintenance team for more complex tasks,
Yeah.
but it also fosters a sense of ownership
Right.
and pride among the operators.
I can see how that would be incredibly motivating to, have a direct impact on the performance and reliability of the equipment you use every day.
It is. And it's not just about motivation. When operators are more engaged in the maintenance process, they often develop a deeper understanding of how the equipment works.
Right, because they're actually doing it every day.
Exactly. And are more likely to spot potential issues early on.
That makes sense. They're essentially becoming experts in their own right.
They are. And that expertise is invaluable when it comes to preventing downtime, extending equipment life, and ultimately improving the bottom line.
That's great. So we've talked about how TPM and Six Sigma work together in a manufacturing setting.
But what about other industries? Our source material mentioned healthcare as an area where these methodologies have been successfully applied.
Absolutely. Think about it. Healthcare is all about precision, reliability, and efficiency.
Not to mention, the stakes are incredibly high. We're talking about people's lives here.
Exactly. And that's why healthcare has increasingly turned to methodologies like Six Sigma and TPM to improve patient care, reduce errors, and optimize processes.
Can you give me an example of how that might look in practice?
Sure. Let's say a hospital is struggling with long wait times
Okay.
in its emergency room.
Yeah.
They could use Six Sigma's DMAIC process
Right.
to define the problem, measure current wait times,
Okay.
analyze the data to identify bottlenecks, implement improvements, and then control those improvements over time.
So they might identify that a lack of available beds is a major bottleneck.
And then implement a system to, more efficiently discharge patients who are ready to go home, freeing up beds for incoming patients.
Exactly. And that's just one example. Hospitals are also using Six Sigma to reduce medication errors, streamline surgical procedures, and even improve patient satisfaction scores.
That's incredible. It really highlights the adaptability of these methodologies.
They can be applied to virtually any industry or process where efficiency and quality are paramount.
They certainly can. And it's not just about achieving those outcomes.
Okay.
It's about the journey,
Okay.
the cultural shift.
Mm-hmm.
That comes with embracing continuous improvement
Right.
as a core value.
That's an important point. You can have the best tools and methodologies in the world.
But without the right culture, they're not going to be nearly as effective.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where everyone from the CEO to the frontline worker feels empowered
Right.
to identify areas for improvement
Yeah.
and contribute to solutions.
So it's about fostering a mindset of continuous improvement.
Always striving to be better, more efficient, more effective.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's what makes these methodologies so enduringly relevant.
In a world that's constantly changing and evolving, the ability to adapt, improve, and innovate is essential for success.
It's about embracing change, not fearing it.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful message for any organization, no matter what industry they're in.
Absolutely. And it's a message that resonates far beyond the walls of a factory or a hospital.
Right.
We can all benefit from applying these principles of continuous improvement in our own lives,
Oh, okay.
whether we're trying to be more productive at work, eat healthier, or simply reduce stress.
That's a really interesting thought. It's like we're taking these powerful tools from the business world.
And applying them to our own personal growth and development.
Exactly. And that's what's so exciting about this deep dive.
We've gone from the factory floor to the emergency room to the realm of personal improvement,
Yeah.
all through the lens of efficiency and quality.
It's been quite a journey.
But I think we've covered a lot of ground in this section.
We have.
Before we move on.
Let's take a moment to recap
Okay.
the key takeaways from this part of our discussion.
Sounds like a great idea.
So, to summarize, we delved deeper into the Kano model, a tool that helps us understand and prioritize what truly drives customer satisfaction.
Right. We explored the concepts of must-be's, performance attributes, and delighters, highlighting how each category contributes to the overall customer experience.
We then shifted gears to explore the symbiotic relationship between TPM and Six Sigma, emphasizing how they work together to create a holistic approach to operational excellence.
We discussed how TPM ensures that the equipment is always in top shape to support the optimized processes designed through Six Sigma, highlighting examples like autonomous maintenance and the empowerment of operators.
We also expanded our view beyond manufacturing, exploring how these methodologies have been successfully implemented in healthcare to improve patient care, reduce errors, and streamline processes.
And lastly, we touched upon the importance of fostering a culture of continuous improvement, recognizing that tools and methodologies are most effective when embraced as part of an organization's DNA.
That's a fantastic summary. We've covered a lot of ground.
And I think it's time to move on to our final thoughts.
And takeaways. Before we wrap up this deep dive, there's one more connection I'm curious about.
Okay.
We've talked about efficiency in terms of like time, cost, and resources. But what about sustainability?
That's a really insightful connection.
For a long time, those concepts were seen as separate,
Right.
even at odds.
Yeah.
But more and more businesses are realizing that sustainability and efficiency, they actually go hand in hand.
It makes sense. Like, reducing waste often means reducing your environmental impact.
Exactly. Think about a company implementing TPM to reduce equipment downtime.
Okay.
Not only are they saving money on repairs and lost production,
Right.
but they're also extending the life cycle of that equipment,
Yeah.
which means fewer resources are needed to, manufacture and ship replacements.
And on the Six Sigma side, if you're analyzing your processes to eliminate defects, you're likely reducing the amount of raw material wasted on faulty products.
Precisely. There's a growing movement called Lean and Green,
Oh, okay.
which recognizes this synergy.
Okay.
Companies are using lean principles, like those found in TPM,
Mm-hmm.
to eliminate waste throughout their operations.
Okay.
And in doing so, they're reducing their environmental impact.
So it's not just good for the planet, it's good for business as well. That's a win-win in my book.
Absolutely. And this connection between efficiency and sustainability goes beyond just the manufacturing floor.
Oh, okay.
Think about urban planning, a field where optimizing processes and resource use is critical.
That's not something I would have immediately associated with TPM or Six Sigma.
How are those principles being applied in that context?
Well, imagine a city using data analysis similar to what you'd find in Six Sigma
Okay.
to optimize traffic flow
Okay.
and reduce congestion.
Right.
Not only does this save commuters time and reduce frustration, but it also decreases fuel consumption and emissions.
That's fascinating. So by applying these principles of kind of process improvement, we can create more livable, sustainable cities.
Exactly. And it extends to building design as well.
Okay.
Architects and engineers are increasingly using lean principles to design buildings that are more energy efficient, use fewer resources, and generate less waste during construction.
It's amazing to think about the ripple effect these methodologies can have when applied thoughtfully.
You've gone from like improving a single factory process to potentially transforming entire cities and industries.
It is remarkable, isn't it? And it really highlights the adaptability and enduring relevance of these concepts.
It's been incredible diving into TPM and Six Sigma with you.
We've explored their origins, their key principles, and their wide-ranging applications across various industries. We've also seen how these methodologies are not just about, boosting profits,
Right.
but also about promoting sustainability and even improving our personal lives.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you and our listeners.
As we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners will kind of carry with them?
If there's one thing to remember, it's that the pursuit of efficiency and quality, it's an ongoing journey.
It's not a destination.
Right.
Whether you're a business leader, a healthcare professional, or simply someone looking to improve their daily life, embracing the principles of continuous improvement, data-driven decision-making, and a relentless focus on delivering value can lead to truly remarkable outcomes.
It's about always striving to be better, to do better, and to create a more efficient, sustainable, and fulfilling future. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those minds curious and keep those engines of improvement running.